Good morning from FYN TV. This is Katy Sissine, and you're watching the Katy Sissine Show, addressing the indoctrination of the American nation. And this is the week of the whistleblowers. And today we're continuing our discussion on Andrew Breitbart, a late whistleblower. Andrew Breitbart is known as the founder of Breitbart online news source. He was a fearless conservative, a publisher, a commentator for the Washington Times, a journalist, author, the list goes on. He famously claimed that he even had two speeds, jocularity and righteous indignation, in accordance with his book, Righteous Indignation, that he released shortly before his death in 2012, which is basically the exposition of Breitbart, describing his feelings of righteous indignation as a conservative right now in America. Breitbart is famously known for calling out the media and reporters for reporting fake news, and he also has called out the credulity of the left, how the left says things based on a lack of facts and reasoning, and how the left just gets louder while the Republicans are actually basing their stances on facts and trying to bring the people together. The libertarians are tending to just base what they say off of nonsense and acting and spinning the script. And he called them out for this. The unfair treatment of conservatives, he highly noticed, and in particular, upon the Tea Party movement, intimidated by the Liberal Party, when in actuality, he was the intimidator of the Liberal Party. According to Breitbart, liberals were making false accusations of racism in the Tea Party. And he noted, black conservatives do not get the same protection as black liberals. So Breitbart stood for freedom and equality for Americans, not only conservatives. And he died very young at age 43 on the 1st of March in 2012 in LA. And the timing made for a peculiar death. We see in the background a video of Breitbart from a CPAC conference giving a speech, the 2012 CPAC conference. In the last episode, we also discussed, along with discussing the background of Breitbart, we discussed how Breitbart described John Podesta as his mortal enemy, and we showed a video clip in which Breitbart expressed his hatred toward Podesta, and he has called him his mortal enemy. He has stated that he is offended by the way the media pits us, the people, against one another, and John Podesta of Hillary Clinton's campaign, which failed, is part of that media charade. So, in the video, he very clearly dislikes Podesta. He even said at a CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference, "We are watching you, Podesta." So Breitbart made everyone fully aware of his suspicions of the left, in particular John Podesta, the former chairman of HRC's presidential campaign. Now let's talk about Shirley and Charles Sherrod. NAACP Shirley Sherrod. Sherrod was a Georgia State Director of Rural Development for the United States Department of Agriculture, hired under the Obama administration. She was recorded expressing discriminatory statements against whites and forced to resign. The video, edited by Breitbart, so there was a video of Sherrod speaking on for the rural development for the United States Department, where she's describing how she helped out a white farmer who talked to her as if she was an inferior. And she described how she was reluctant to help the white farmer, but she did. And she is credited by the farmer's wife to this day, who spoke out for helping them save their farm. But within her speech that she was making, she said many things that were just very discriminatory. The video that Breitbart edited throughout the speech revealed how organizations like the NAACP are applauding discriminatory statements made by Sherrod, for example, throughout her speech. Married to Charles Sherrod, organizer of the Student Nonviolent Committee during the Civil Rights Movement, he has also openly expressed discriminatory sentiments throughout his career. why should these discriminatory statements by Sherrod in her speech in an organization under the Obama administration, why should her statements that are discriminatory against whites be overlooked? She was fired immediately after the release of Breitbart's video. And she was rehired she was also immediately rehired, confirming the Obama administration's approval of discrimination in the U.S. government. So Andrew Breitbart, he took clips from about an hour-long speech of Sherrod speaking about how she should help everyone, how everyone's affected in agriculture, not just blacks, whites are also affected. But along the way, she said derogatory statements about whites, and she said that she felt as if she was being discriminated against by the white farmer that she was helping. And she did say that that was the first white farmer that she had helped. So it was more about the way that Sherrod said it. And when the video came out and the full video came out, the left media said, Sherrod didn't mean it that way. You know, Sherrod actually was trying to say the opposite point. Sherrod did not say anything discriminatory. She was just describing the first time that she helped a white farmer. But it was the way she said what she said. She said that when the white farmer was telling her about her problems, that, you know, that he was talking to her as if he was superior to her. And she said something of the like that, why would I want to help you if you're acting superior to me? To which the audience, the black audience, applauded. Which, you know, that's all subjective. If you feel that someone is acting in a certain way toward you, you should address it. And you should address it personally to that person and not in a public speech that could come off as making yourself look discriminatory. So we've all heard of Sherrod. She's been around quite a while. She's been involved for quite a while. And Sherrod even later claimed, after she was rehired, that Breitbart would look favorably upon enslaving blacks. Drastic. Who brought up slavery in the first place? Now, aside from Breitbart's enemies like John Podesta and Shirley Sherrod, he does have many supporters, including Mr. Sean Hannity. And Sean Hannity has said, thank God for journalists like Breitbart. Guy Benson, conservative of Fox News, has said Andrew Breitbart has all the right enemies. As in, Breitbart understands the Liberal Party so well, he knows how to strike all the right chords and thus make all the right enemies. And this takes skill to bother your opponents. It's not just something anyone can do. You have to understand what really gets them and how they operate and why they operate the way they operate. And Breitbart could do that because he was a liberal. In fact, he wasn't a conservative until his revelation in 1991, which we talked about in episode 3 of this week, the last episode. And Breitbart has also acknowledged how great of a compliment Benson's statement was and how dearly he held that to his heart. And I highly suggest checking out the documentary Hating Breitbart. It was made in 2012 after his death. Now, moving on to the ACORN investigation. We are talking about Mr. O'Keefe and Mrs. Giles, if you've heard about them. So, the ACORN investigation was most popularly promoted by Andrew Breitbart. The investigation began in 2009 when a couple of young independent journalists, Mrs. Hannah Giles, as we see right up there in the corner, and Mr. O'Keefe are up there looking lovely. Not the most flattering pictures, but at least we've got one of the two of them. So the investigation began in 2009 when this young couple of independent journalists posing as a pimp and a prostitute, were looking to run, or were disguised as looking to run, a brothel of underage foreigners. They attempted to seek legal tax advice from ACORN, which is how ACORN ties in, and they succeeded. So what is ACORN? ACORN, well, is no longer existent, but ACORN was the Association of Community Organizations for Reform Now. Now, it's important to note that since ACORN has filed for bankruptcy and closed all of its chapters, it has had spin-offs. There have been a few organizations that have spun off and developed out of ACORN, and I'd like to do a further investigation into those organizations. If anyone has any notes for that, please email me at katie@fetchernews.com if you have any interesting research on the few organizations that have developed from members of ACORN after ACORN filed for bankruptcy. So, ACORN was established in 1970 in Arkansas. It was a nationally known organization that advocated for low and moderate income families and communities. You can find all this information on acorn.org. It was founded by Wade Rath and Derry Delgado, and it filed for bankruptcy and disbanded in 2010, all 30 state chapters and international chapters as well. Once it was the nation's largest organization working for social justice and stronger communities. That was the whole idea, the whole philanthropic idea behind it. And it described itself as a nonprofit, nonpartisan, social justice organization. In 1972, ACORN entered the realm of electoral politics with the Political Action Committee supporting candidates for Little Rock, Arkansas School Board. And in 1975, it became a multi-state operation, developing chapters in Texas and South Dakota. And shortly thereafter, 30 years shortly thereafter, it finally became an international entity with the phenomenon of globalization, opening offices in Peru, in Canada, and the Dominican Republic. So all the way from Arkansas to becoming an international entity about 30 years later. So this is a very big development. ACORN received a considerable amount of favorable publicity also from its efforts in 2005, helping victims of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, Louisiana. But by March 10th of 2010, things started falling apart. 15 of ACORN's 30 state chapters had already closed following a nationwide scandal that occurred in the fall of 2009 by independent journalists O'Keefe and Giles, leading to the notorious nationwide ACORN investigation. So, we're going to continue that discussion here very shortly after a short commercial break. You're watching the Katy Sissine Show. We're out of time for now, but we'll be right back. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at KatyFYNTV and send emails with comments or suggestions and tips for me at Katy@fetchernews.com. And we will be right back with you to discuss the ACORN investigation.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
This is the big one. The 20% off MSRP model year-end clearance at Days Chevrolet in Jasper. With huge savings over $3,600 off the redesigned Malibu. Now just $20,400. Save over $8,600 off Silverado Crew Cab LT. Now just $33,500. 20% off new Chevys. Right here, right now. At Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead. Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
El Rey and Elegy.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Elegy.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Looking for in a vehicle, start your search at Schottenkirk Ford Jasper. We've simplified the process so you can move on to what matters, your family.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Welcome back to the Katy Sissine Show. This is your host, Katy Sissine, and we're continuing the week of the whistleblowers. And behind me, our background today is Mr. James O'Keefe, because we are discussing the 2009 ACORN investigation, which was conducted by Mr. James O'Keefe and Hannah O. Giles, young journalists who decided to go undercover and take a hidden camera into the ACORN office in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, they also went to other offices as well and did investigations with very similar results, but we are focused today on the investigation that took place in Baltimore. So, as was described in the first half of this episode today, the organization ACORN describes itself as an organization working for social justice and stronger communities, and described itself also as a nonprofit, nonpartisan, social justice organization. Now, O'Keefe is the founder of Project Veritas, and he describes ACORN very differently on his website, or his website describes it very differently, I should say, his writers, unless he wrote it himself. It says that it describes ACORN as a massive, unaccountable, taxpayer-subsidized group that the Obama administration was using to conduct the census, register voters, and sign people up for government programs. At its height, ACORN had over 500,000 members and more than 1,200 chapters in over 100 U.S. cities. So as we know, it developed from a multi-state operation to an international operation with the effect of globalization, of course, happening naturally, and had a total of 12,000 chapters in the U.S. So this is very different from the definition given by the organization itself. This definition by Project Veritas is the description based off of, you could say, the conservative perspective. And maybe this is the most accurate perspective. There were scandals that they were transporting people to vote illegally without, pushing for allowing voters to vote without identification, and other scenarios that just seem very illegitimate, and it made them look very very conspicuous. And I've always known him as a liberal, so I'm fascinated on his stance and how he supported the videos posted by O'Keefe and Giles. And we will check out a video of O'Keefe discussing more so the orchestration of the covert operations leading to ACORN in a more specific way. This all occurred in ACORN, at ACORN in Baltimore, Maryland, and they conducted the same investigation at ACORN in San Diego and were offered assistance there as well. So not only were they offered legal advice at one location, but two, for nearly the same situation. An ACORN tax specialist and an ACORN housing employee, which we just saw in the previous video, helped to assist in tax form obligations by covering up the prostitution and even the brothel of underage imported girls, illegally imported girls from El Salvador. So they even tried to help them run a brothel of underage Salvadorian girls. So obviously this situation is illegal in several ways. So decided to, for tax purposes, to call the prostitute, Miss Hannah Giles, an independent artist in the performing arts, because you can't put prostitute on your taxes. And they described the pimp, Mr. James O'Keefe, in the situation as the landlord to legitimize the taxes. O'Keefe did not look like a landlord when he walked in that office, that's for sure. He told them when he walked in that he was also running for Congress and that people would not be very sympathetic to his situation, quote unquote. They were also told by the tax specialist that they did not even have to put the underage foreign kids in the books at all, or they could claim that as dependents or independents in various different scenarios that they described. The housing specialist, because they spoke to both the housing specialist and the tax specialist at that ACORN location, or one of them, the tax specialist suggested to call the underage prostitutes exchange students. She said to make them go to school, to have a chaperone for them, and to train them to keep their mouth shut, and to not say anything about what was really going on in this brothel. The tax specialist, when you think it can't get any worse, the tax specialist also said to claim 3 of the children as dependents, not to claim all of them, because that would obviously be suspicious, because it was about 13 or 14 young girls who were going to be housed with them in this quote-unquote underage brothel. So they advised Miss Giles, to say that she was their caretaker and claim 3 of the children as dependents, as Giles with as the caretaker, and to say that they are relatives, and that would make everything seem legitimate. Now let's take a look at some interesting clips where O'Keefe discusses the orchestration of covert operations leading to the ACORN investigation.
After I did the Planned Parenthood thing, I got a Facebook message from a young woman named Hannah who said, I love what you did with Planned Parenthood. Have you thought about doing this with ACORN? And I didn't know what ACORN was. I Googled them and saw them busting down the doors of foreclosed homes and doing illegal things and using taxpayer dollars to advise people to do illegal things. So I assumed, well, if they're doing that in the public, what would they do in private? And Hannah came up with the brilliant idea of posing as a prostitute. I said, what if you posed as a prostitute and wanted to ACORN? So I said, well, if there's a prostitute, there should probably be a pimp. And of course, I'm not the most pimp-like of individuals. I relied on my friend to be the pimp, but my friend had to go to school that day, so I had to play the role of the pimp. And as you can see here on the video, I used what appears to be a chinchilla shawl. That was actually my grandmother's fur coat. And the pimp cane was from the dollar store, and the hat was my grandfather's hat that he had given me. And Hannah used a sarong that was part of her wardrobe, a leather strapless ensemble, and stiletto shoes. And we became the pimp and the prostitute, going from location to location. We actually took a camcorder that I'd gotten for Christmas and recorded all this B-roll, walking down the streets of Washington, D.C. The best way to summarize the ACORN investigation is to show the Jon Stewart Daily Show clip, because he takes you.
Hello, welcome back. Now we are almost out of time for today. Hopefully that video gave you a better visual of the whole pimp and the prostitute situation. Now, from my understanding, they walked into the office with O'Keefe dressed as a man running for office, running for some type of office, and it was said after the fact in the media that they did not come in there dressed as in the pimp and prostitute get-ups, but they did that for effects and for visuals in the video to give people an idea, to make it seem more apparent that they were portraying a pimp and a prostitute to the viewers that would watch their video. Although he went in a suit to the ACORN offices, they still knew that they intended to run a brothel, and that Giles was posing as that Giles was a prostitute, of course posing, and James O'Keefe was a man running for office, but also a pimp. So they knew all this information, and they defended themselves by saying they didn't come in dressed that way, and the videos were heavily edited and this and that. But I don't buy it, because what was recorded on tape cannot be unseen. They supported illegitimate operations. They advised kids, basically very young adults, to get their taxes in legally, quote unquote. They assisted them to help them run a brothel. It's absolutely crazy. This all occurred at the ACORN in Baltimore. They conducted the same investigation at ACORN in San Diego, and were offered assistance there as well. It's disturbing there would be offered assistance of business of underage prostitution at only one location, but the fact that they were offered assistance again at an entirely different location makes across the country is really alarming, and it makes the entire organization look absolutely criminal. Thank you for tuning in to FYN TV today. I'm Katy Sissine with the Katy Sissine Show. Remember to follow me at Katy FYN TV. We'll continue this briefly on tomorrow's segment, the discussion of ACORN and how that all panned out for them, and get into some other interesting stuff with author William Cooper, author of Behold a Pale Horse. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow morning, and I hope you have a great day.